Hey guys, Pete here. This is my 10 Things You Might Have Missed in Twin Peaks The Return, Part 10. If you haven't watched episode 10 in season 3 yet, this will contain spoilers. Otherwise, let's jump right into it. So we'll start off where we ended in the recap and review, more or less, and that is this letter that Deputy Chad intercepted at the Twin Peaks Sheriff Department. Miriam had told Richard that she sent a letter to the Sheriff Truman, and after his attempt at killing her, he contacted Chad and told him to intercept it. Now, Eagle Eye fans noticed that the last name on the letter was different than what Miriam was credited as in the end credits. Two different last names, and it could be explained away as, it was her maiden name, but she doesn't appear to be married. And yeah, everything that kind of comes up for this to try to explain it away is pretty weak, honestly. And I think there's a possibility that the letter she sent wouldn't even have gone to the Twin Peaks Sheriff Department. She says she sent it to Sheriff Truman. Now, this is complete speculation, but she said she had talked to the police, didn't know why he hadn't been arrested. We could assume the only way this would have happened is if she had talked to Chad and he also didn't file a report. If she is connected with Red and Richard's drug business, perhaps that means that she also knows that Chad is dirty, especially now that nothing's happened of the investigation. So perhaps instead of writing to the current Sheriff Truman, she might have sent a letter directly to Sheriff Harry Truman, wherever he is. Like I said, that's complete speculation, but there's a million ways you can go with it. Most of them all end up in that he probably intercepted the wrong letter, and that's going to cause trouble for both him and Richard down the road. The next thing is the creepy face on the bear in front of Johnny Horne is from a cartoon series, I guess you would call it, called Dumbland that David Lynch did. I hadn't seen it, but I did go and watch it. It's quite entertaining and funny. Of course, it's weird, but definitely worth a watch. But yeah, the main character in Dumbland has this face that I would say 100% the bear was fashioned after. The next thing is a thing that a lot of people brought up in the comments, that the singer at the Roadhouse this time was Rebekah Del Rio, who was in Mullholland Drive, and that Moby was playing the guitar in her band. So this musical performance seems to be a tipping point for some people, so I won't go on and on about it, but it's also interesting to note that David Lynch is a co-writer on the song itself. The next big thing, the fourth big thing, is that other guy that's in the picture with Evil Coop at the room in New York City. Can't say that I've learned anything more about him since I did the recap and review, but just in case you weren't glued to the television screen at the time that Tammy showed Gordon and Albert this photo, there's clearly another person in there. He could be wearing a lab coat, definitely wearing glasses, and as far as I can tell, it's just those two. They're both outside the box and they're talking. If I had to speculate wildly, I would say that the mystery guy is explaining how the box works to Evil Coop, but that's just speculation. The fifth thing you might have missed is that Richard's car, and this is just a funny thing, but Richard's car obviously had some miscolored panels on it. His car actually matches the outfit that Diane was wearing at the coroner's office in Buckhorn. I saw this photo circulating around and it's pretty funny. I mean, I don't know why it's important. It probably isn't, but it's definitely, if they shot the Richard scene first, I can totally see him saying to wardrobe or whatever, hey, Diane's got to be wearing these colors, and that's where that came from. The sixth thing you might have missed was that plan to destroy the trailer probably won't work. We saw that he had knocked her out. She was bleeding, Miriam that is, and that his plan was to light the candle after he turned on the oven and opened the door. But he kicked out the front window, so there's clearly ventilation. Plus, it looks like if you look at the trailer, there's probably air circulation in there in the first place. So don't write off Miriam as being dead yet. Does it matter? Well, it obviously would if she's still alive, but we won't know until we know. The next thing is really just a glitch, I think, at this point. There was a lot of talk about when Tammy is walking down the hall to show the photo to Gordon and Albert that she's in slow motion, and it's pretty clear that the door frame, like the handle area, there's something going on with it when she approaches. Quite a few people who work in film or editing weighed in on this though, and it does sound like it's probably just a post-production like software glitch. That's what made the most sense to me. In other words, when they put her in slow motion like that, they use a piece of software to create extra frames to make it look extra slow, and this can cause problems other places, which I think that's all it is. Now, the fact that she's walking in slow motion is a whole different thing, but as far as the door glitch, as it's been referred to, I think it is just that. I think it's a mistake that isn't really important beyond that. The eighth thing that you might have missed or might not have thought about, Johnny's bear is talking to him. It says, "Hello, Johnny. How are you today?" Over and over again. You didn't miss that. But something that you might not have thought of, I know I didn't right at the beginning, was the connection that Johnny had with Laura. You'll remember that she did come over a few times a week to read to him, and he was devastated when he found out about her death. Well, before that, from some of the stuff in her secret diary that they put out, it turns out that they actually had a pretty close relationship, and not in the normal sense of like they talked or anything, but she cared for him. She got something out of doing it. He obviously did. And it leads to some interesting places if you look into it. Like, she believed that he chose to be silent because it was more interesting that way. Then she actually ended up seeing Dr. Jacoby because Johnny was a patient of his, and Dr. Jacoby has thoughts on it too. He thinks that Johnny reverted because something really bad happened to him, some sort of trauma, and so he reverted to this childlike state. So it kind of gives a little bit of context to Johnny and why he might be back. It could be completely unrelated to Richard Horne or anything else. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's worth a look if you haven't read anything about it. The next thing that you might have missed, the Laura scene that when Gordon goes to the door and he sees Laura before he sees Albert, that is a scene from Firewalk with Me. Laura goes over to Donna's place and she's hysterical. This is after she saw Leland go home, and that's what made it click about the diary. So yeah, she was traumatized. She goes over and she's like, "Donna, are you my best friend?" And it's a pretty crazy scene. Now, it could be just there because of the way it looks and the way that it fit with what they were doing. I'm not sure if it's got any deeper meaning, but feel free to speculate away in the comments if you think there's anything to this, because it's pretty fascinating. I mean, it's fascinating that Gordon is seeing visions. It doesn't seem like it's supposed to be a memory. So yeah, it's kind of neat and it's definitely mysterious. So let's talk about it. And the final thing that you might have missed, the beloved log lady, in her message and the name of the episode was "Laura is the one." Now, someone had commented in my last video that they had just watched those log lady intros and that she says that in those, and those intros are on the box set, but they basically filmed an intro for just about every episode, if not every episode, where the log lady kind of introduced it before it came on. I think they were filmed for maybe a European release or something like that, or it could have been, I don't know, I didn't look into it. I've seen these before and I've read them all, but I didn't look into where they aired, if anywhere else besides the DVDs. But anyways, this was the introduction to the pilot. She tells you who she is. She says she's from Twin Peaks. She's known as the Log Lady. And then she goes on to say that there are many stories in Twin Peaks. Some of them are sad, some funny. Some of them are stories of madness, of violence. Some are ordinary, yet they all have about them a sense of mystery, the mystery of life. Sometimes the mystery of death, the mystery of the woods surrounding Twin Peaks. To introduce this story, let me just say it encompasses the all. It is beyond the fire, though few would know that meaning. It is a story of many, but it begins with one, and I knew her. The one leading to the many is Laura Palmer. Laura is the one. So that is where that came from, and it's very interesting. Very interesting and mysterious, to say the least. So what do you think it means? And what are you thinking about some of these things? I guess the letter, the mysterious character, what's going on with Chad and Richard. I guess those are the pressing questions that this episode brought up. But quite a lot of cool tiebacks to things in the past that could come out and be important later. And I am excited to see where it all leads. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out my other Twin Peaks videos. I have a bunch. There's 2 for this episode that came out before this and many more. Please follow me over on Twitter and on my other social media accounts. Let's get some talking going over there as well. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.